Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Third reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, Text 30. Aham Tatpad Vikirvan Mano Vaikaradkad Abhut Vaikarikas Cha Ye Deva Arta Vivyana Gyanam Yata Aham Tatpad Vikirvana Mano Vaikarikadhaput Vaikarikaschaye Deva Arta Vivyana Gyanam Yata Aham Tatpad Vikirvana Mano Vaikarikadhaput Vaikarikaschaye Deva Arta Vivyagyanam Yata Aham Tatpa Vikirvanan Mano Vaikarat Abut Varikarikastaye Deva Arta Vivyagyanam Yata
Aham tat tat vikurvana
Aham Tatpa Vikirvanan
Vaikarikatavu
Mano Varikat Abut
Karikas Chaye Deva
Varikarikastaye Deva
Arta Bhivyanjanam Yata.
Arta Vivyagyanam Yata Aham Tatvad Vikirvanan Mano Vakarikadabut Vakarikastaye Deva
Artha Bhivyanjanam Yataha.
Arta Vivyagyanam Yata
Aham tatva vikurvana.
Aham Tatvad Vikirvanan
Sorry. Mano vaikarikadabut.
Mano Vakarikadabut
Karikaschaye deva.
Vakarikastaye Deva
Arta bhivadyanjanam yataha.
Arta Vivyagyanam Yata
Aham tattva vikurvana
Aham Tatvad Vikirvanan
Mano Vaikarikatavu
Mano Vakarikadabut
Vaikarikaschaye Deva
Vakarikastaye Deva
Arta Bhivyanjanam Yata.
Arta Vivyagyanam Yataha
Aham tattva vikurvana.
Aham tatva vikurvanan.
Vaikarikadabu.
Mano vakarikadabhut.
Karikashcha ye deva.
Vaikarikastaye deva.
Bivyanjanam yata.
Artha vivyagyanam yata.
Aham tattva vikurvanam.
Aham tatva vikurvanam.
No vaikarikadavu.
Mano vakarikadabhut.
Karikascha ye deva.
Vaikarikastaye deva.
Arta bivyanjanam yataha.
Artha vivyagyanam yataha.
Aham tadvad vikurvanan.
Aham tatva vikurvanan.
Karikad abud.
Mano vakarikadabhut.
Vaikarikashcha ye deva.
Vakarikastaye deva.
Artha bivyanjanam yata.
Artha vivyagyanam yataha.
Aham tattva vikurvanam.
Aham tatva vikurvanan.
Mano vaikarikadavu.
Mano vakarikadabhut.
Vaikarikascha ye deva.
Vakarikastaye deva.
Bivyanjanam yataha.
Artha vivyagyanam yataha.
Aham tadvad vikurvanam.
Aham tatva vikurvanan.
Mano vaikarikadabu.
Mano vakarikadabhut.
Vaikarikastaye deva.
Vakarikastaye deva.
Divyanam janam yata.
Artha vivyagyanam yataha.
Aham tadvad vikurvanam.
Aham tatva vikurvanan.
Mano vaikarikadabu.
Mano vakarikadabhut.
Vaikarikastaye deva.
Vakarikastaye deva.
Arta vivyanjanam yataha.
Artha vivyagyanam yataha. Okay, so everyone chant this. We'll chant word by word synonyms. Aham tatva. From the principle of false ego. Vikurvana. By transformation. Manaha. The mind. By karikat. By interaction with the mode of goodness. Aput. Generated. By karika. By interaction with goodness. Cha. Also. Yea. All these. Deva. Demigods. Artha. The phenomenon. Apivigyanam. Physical knowledge. Yataha. The source. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The false ego is transformed into mind by interaction with the mode of goodness. All the demigods that control the phenomenal world are also products of the same principle, namely the interaction of false ego and the mode of goodness. False ego interacting with the different modes of material nature is the source of all materials in the phenomenal world. So it's a really short purport. I can go on to the next verse. Taisani Andriani Eva Yamna Karma Mayani Cha. Translation and purport. The senses are certainly products of the mode of passion in false ego. And therefore, philosophical, speculative knowledge and fruitive activities are predominantly products of the mode of passion. Purport. The chief function of the false ego is godlessness. When a person forgets his constitutional position as an eternally subordinate part and parcel of the Supreme Person of Godhead and wants to be happy independently, he functions mainly in two ways. He first attempts to act fruitively for personal gain or sense gratification, And after attempting such fruitive activities for a considerable time, when he is frustrated, he becomes a philosophical speculator and thinks himself to be on the same level of God. This false idea of becoming one with the Lord is the last snare of the illusory energy, which traps a living entity into the bondage of forgetfulness under the spell of false ego. The best means of liberation from the clutches of false ego is to give up the habit of philosophical speculation regarding the absolute truth. One should know definitely that the absolute truth is never realized by the philosophical speculations of the imperfect, egotistic person. The absolute truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is realized by hearing about him in all submission and love from a bona fide authority who is a representative of the 12 great authorities mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. By such an attempt only can one conquer the illusory energy of the Lord, although for others she is unsurpassable, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 14. They were just giving reference to that Bhagavad Gita verse last night, 7:14. What was that? That was that Devi Hesha Gurumani Mama Maya Jaratya. Where Krishna said, and Prabhupada was saying, this Maya, Krishna saying, my Maya, Mama Maya. You cannot get out of it, right? So you're entrapped. And that's, I was listening to Prabhupada, like Prabhupada was talking about that. So that's Maya's duty, to keep you entrapped in illusion or keep you entrapped in the illusory energy. And that becoming a devotee and giving up the, following the full 4 rules and regulations, giving up all sinful activities like declaring a war on Maya. Because basically we're under the spell of false ego, identifying with the material body and within the various modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So yeah, there's a verse that I heard. I mentioned this last week too. I heard this verse about 2 weeks ago, where the verse is that the let's see. Well, the 10 senses are manifested. The working senses are product of the modes of passion, and the knowledge acquiring senses are products of the modes of goodness. So basically, Bhagavad Gita mentions this, is that the living entity, according to their karma, gets a particular set of senses which are grouped about the mind. So the Prabhupada said mind is also sense. So many times Prabhupada said the mind is the 6th sense. So there are but it's the king of all the senses, because that's where it's the reservoir of like all desire and the reservoir of our perception, sense perception is realized by the mind. And so therefore it's considered superior. Also in Bhagavad Gita mentions that the knowledge acquiring senses are superior to the working senses. The working senses, basically we can be aware of them, but our working senses aren't aware of any real knowledge. They're not going to give us any really good, bright ideas. Yeah, you have a question?
I was just wondering what the knowledge acquiring senses were.
Oh, knowledge acquiring senses. Yeah, these are our senses of perception, which is sight, sound, touch, smell, and taste. Right. And then the working senses are the legs, the hands, the stomach, evacuating organs. So yeah, in Bhagavad Gita, it's mentioned Chaitra and Chaitrajna. So there's the field of activities, which is the body, and then there's the 10 senses. There's the self, which is the knower and the owner of the body, and then there's the super self, the Paramatma, who is just simply witnessing. He's sitting on the tree of the living entity of the body, and he's just simply witnessing. So I was listening to the verses, listening to lectures on these verses, and what Radhanath Swami was mentioning with the verse that I heard this morning is that we're not the material body, we're not the material mind, like that. So we're disassociate ourselves with the material desires. What he was saying is that Krishna created this material world. He said, we're saying Krishna could have created the material world as a place of enjoyment, but it's a false enjoyment, and it's actually a place of misery. Was it Dukala? Was it? Yeah, Dukalayam Sashrayam. Yeah, Dukalayam. So this is a place of misery. It's a place of birth and death, Mithriloka. So since time immemorial, the living entity has been transmigrating through 8,400,000 species of life. And then what they are also mentioning in these verses that after the universes are annihilated, and of course the Supreme Krishna, he's still present even after the annihilation of the material world. He was present before the creation of the material world. He's present during the maintenance of the material world. And so the universe lasts for the lifetime of Brahma, which was 311 trillion years, right? So this is a really, really large number, you know, when you actually really think about it. A very large exponential given in Bhagavad Gita. 1,000 yuga cycles make up the duration of Brahma's one day and also the duration of his night. So then Satya Yuga lasts approximately, what, 12 million years? And then Satya Treta was approximately 12. Let's see, and then did I say Satya Yuga is about 12 million? So then it starts to get reduced by a couple million years each. And the Treta Yuga is reduced. Dwarpa Yuga is reduced to what, about 8 million? Then Kali Yuga is reduced to about 4 million years. So then if you're to take these
432,000.
Yeah, 32,000 years. 32,000 years in one day of Brahma.
That's one
cycle.
Kali Yuga.
Or one Kali Yuga. So yeah, and there's been many Kali Yugas. All the ages they all rotate, just like calendar months, you know, or days within the week. So there's certain characteristics of the age of Kali Yuga. Srila Vyasadeva mentions this in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The descriptions of the characteristics of the age of Kali. So many things that we've witnessed so far within the last 5,000 years. In fact, they don't even have properly recorded history, or they rewrote history or destroyed a bunch of stuff. And they can hardly even figure out what even happened in Christianity about 2,000 years ago. So, the civilization is misguided, misinformed, kept in ignorance. Kept in ignorance. We don't even know what ourselves are. Everything is. I was reading this article. I was wondering exactly what these breakfast foods are, the boxes of cereal. And it was saying it's the ultimate in fake food. The sugars and sweeteners are extracted from non-sugar and non-sweetener sources. And the vitamins are coming from non-vitamin sources. And the crops, they're saying 99% of the GMO crops are corn. And some of them are even registered as insecticides with the FDA. And basically it's corn, oats, wheat, and rice. And it's totally heavily processed. Oh, yeah. And the artificial colors come from some other non-colored sources. They're saying it's like, it's completely squashed and mashed down. It's, the ultimate and total fake food, totally fake your body out with all this fake sugar and stuff. Oh, yeah. Then they put it in these really colorful cartoon boxes, and it's really, really expensive. Breakfast cereal is really, really expensive. I guess kids with hyperactivity can't eat it. It increases their hyperactivity so bad. So yeah, we're kept in ignorance. We're everything is totally processed. Well, they want to do everything in their own ways. They're not accepting the time tested processes for millions of years of storing water in aqueducts and wells and maintaining an agrarian society for agriculture alongside the rivers. You know, now all the rivers. Papa was saying all the rivers in all the world are all polluted. He was talking about the Thames in England and the Hudson Bay, and you know, and you can even look this up. They don't even tell you all the rivers in the whole world are all polluted. You know, so yeah, that's the current affairs. You know, and they want to explore what's beyond this planet, right? You know, they're saying there's a reason why they didn't go to the moon. There's I think who's speaking is Baranga Swami. He's saying, yeah, do you have a question? Yeah, 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 no.
Thank you, Prabhu. I really didn't mean to interrupt your thought. If you want to.
Oh, okay, yeah. He was saying that he has a video on the moon landing. Prabhupada was very adamant, and he was the first to say this. No, it's a hoax. They didn't go. They didn't go to the moon. And he said what was there? There was about 12 moon missions within like just a few years, you know, and then now they stopped going. But he pointed some facts out. You know, when the lunar module is landed on the moon, yeah, all the dust and everything, and the craters and everything. Well, all that should have all been cleared out by the rockets and everything. If it's going to come down and land the way that it did, it should have all been blown out. It should have been, you know, undisturbed. You know, and he was pointing out another thing when they put up the flag, and the flag had some stuff in it to hold it up straight, but it was waving and flapping, and there's no wind or air on the moon. So there's some inconsistencies with this thing, you know. When it was on TV, it blocked out everything else on the network, on television and radio, and you couldn't help but have to watch and listen to this, you know. Either that or just turn off the television and radio, but it was on for days, you know, and you had all the radio transmission beeps and blips and stuff, you know. Come on, you know, apologize. Yeah. Yeah, and it was a big hoax. So yeah, he was talking about that. So yeah, what Maharaj is saying, you know, everything's misdirected society, but there is a process in place for society and for it to exist, you know, in a God Jai Gaur Nitai Ki Jai, a progressive God conscious society. You know, not that you take your chemicals and make a bunch of chemical fake food with, you know, what is it, Dacron and acrylics and things like that they're making clothes. These are petroleum products, you know. So you know, so but generally, you know, clothing would come from wool from the sheeps and the cotton, you know, like that. You know, we handle pure items. You know, we offer the ghee lamp. You know, the ghee is pure, the cotton is pure. You know, we're handling pure items, the conch shell. Yeah, Prabhupada was talking about the discrepancies that may be apparent in the scripture. It says, the bone of an animal is impure. If one touches it, one must immediately take bath and purify. But the conch shell, it's the bone of an animal, but it's considered pure, and it's on the deity room. We use it on the altar. Right. So, you know, and the yak tail whisk, you know, and the peacock's feathers, you know, other tails of other animals and other feathers are impure, but these are pure items, you know, as described and recommended in the scriptures. Yeah. You had a question?
So I wanted to ask, you said that the mind is the king of all senses and it's the reservoir of all desires. So I'm wondering where is the mind?
Yeah, where is the mind? Yeah, generally we associate with the mind in our head, like our brain. It's like brain working, my mind just kind of had a, what they call it, like a glitch, a brain fart, all of a sudden, can't remember, I lost my train of thought. I can't remember here, but yeah, somehow or other we're associating with the head. Basically, the soul is situated within the heart, right? So isn't it that it's associated with the life airs? There's something like nadis. There's something like, I don't know, like 7 million nadis or something within the circulatory system. And nadis, they're perceptual, like nervous system or something. But maybe the modern scientists maybe explain these as perceptual channels, perceptual channels of perception. So yeah, I'm not, but we associate with our head and associate it closely with our brain, but where it actually really is associated is like within the heart, where the living entity is. Or Prabhupada was saying that, like our bodies, we have our specific shape of our bodies, especially human form. It's not covered over by big giant claws where your fingernails are, big giant hair and little shrinking fingers, and walking around on 4 legs and have these strange feet with these padded paws on the bottom of them with these big giant claws, What is it? It was living entities with hands. Living entities without hands are food for living entities with hands. There's a simian races, they have hands. They take a stick and put it down in the ant hole. Let the ants get all over it and pick it up and eat it. So they're saying they can utilize tools or tooling, right? Or they taught a gorilla how to do sign language and speaks fluent sign language with humans, is communicating, like that. So, but generally the that cat outside, it sounds like goes. I think he's trying to say Krishna, Hare Krishna. He's going on. So, the lower races, the lower species, basically don't have the acquired intelligence that the human being has. That we have a fully developed mind, brains, senses. We're not so much covered over, except for the fact that we're covered over by godlessness, where they're saying the egoistic principle is godless. But that was the original principle, where somehow or other, somewhere along the line, we became envious of Krishna in one aspect or another. And that's material consciousness. We're immediately placed in the material world. That's just the natural physics of things. You can say it's a punishment for the criminal living entities. In fact, that's, the prison or the jail, the material world, with the original sin, somehow or other, I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional, but, we ended up here in the material world. And so now we have to reawaken our dormant love of God, like what I was getting about the lifetime of Mahavishnu, living entities during the time of the dissolution of the material world are absorbed within the body of Mahavishnu. So during the period of time that the universe is manifest and non-manifest, the living entities are it's in a dormant state. So for at least 311 trillion years, at least that the life of the Brahma. There's also so Mahavishnu's breathing out the universes, and then when he breathes in, they all come back into his body, right? And all the living entities, they will begin again, start their activities when the universes come out again, when Brahma again creates. Yeah, you had a question?
So this is This is interesting. No, it's nice that when Mahavishnu breathes out, it's 311 trillion years. But I was just wondering, is that the same amount of time it takes for him in the material world to breathe back in?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking of is these cycles. So, I've been trying to look up the exact period of time of the breathing of Mahavishnu's in his yoga nidra and the manifestation of the Mahatattva, and then its dissolution because the Mahatattva is eternally manifest and then unmanifest, and living entities within a dormant state until again they're impregnated within nature by the glance of Mahavishnu. So that's Durga, mother nature, Durga or Maya. Her job is to keep the living entities in the material world. But when the living entities, like what Prabhupada was saying here, that the living entities, they want to engage in fruitive activities in order to get some happiness. And then after a while, they're frustrated and they want to become one with the Lord, which is, Artha, Dhamma, Kama, Moksha, Artha, Dharma. So let's see. There's economic development, Artha, Dhamma, religiosity, Kama, sense gratification, and then ultimately liberation, Mukti. But what Maharaj was saying, when one becomes a devotee, Mukti, liberation, she's standing at the door of the devotee with folded hands, with all opulences, ready to serve the devotee in every respect, like that. So many Mayavadis, observing so many severe austerities and studying the Vedanta, but their hearts are not cleansed. They cannot cleanse their own hearts. They cannot cleanse the hearts of their disciples. No matter how much accumulation of the mode of goodness they may seem to have accumulated, how much in the Brahmananda they may be absorbed in, or how many mystic cities they might actually have, As I was at Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he went against some yogis with mystic cities. They're just simply misusing their authority and their powers. Again, becoming Krishna and engaging in Rasa Leela like that. So, you have a question? Okay, yeah, we'll take Dr. Wayne's question. And
Hare Krishna, thank you for the class. So my question relates to the text. I guess simply put, is the mode of goodness, are the three modes absolute and pure in their nature, and they're simply covered over by the false ego? Or are there grades and qualities and degrees of goodness, passion, and ignorance?
yeah, the modes, they're mixed together. Prabhupada is saying the artist, he starts with three primary colors. And then in India, they say 3 into 3, right? So 3 times 3. We say 3 times 3. Generally, when we say 3 into 3, we're really more talking about like division. But this is what Prabhupada is saying in the lectures. 3 into 3 makes 9. Then 9 into 9 is, let's see, 9 is 18. And then 18 into 3, so it's what, 36, right? And so he continues going. We get 81 and 90, and you continue going, right? And so that's the same thing with the combinations of the mode of goodness. Well, let's take that mode of ignorance, breakfast cereal, right? But here's the material modes of nature all mixed up on your table. Here's the sattva guna milk, right? So you pour the milk all over it. Here's the sattva guna sugar. There's the mode of ignorance, breakfast cereal, totally processed GMO stuff, right? And here's the mode of goodness. It's some orange juice, right? And they can mix it up with some other stuff too, bacon and eggs, the ignorance, mode of ignorance. I know what's in the mode of passion. Onions and garlic. Put the butter on the toast. The karmis that cook the grains, anyone who eats the grains by karmis, their minds gradually become wicked. So now here's the mode of goodness, butter you know, put it down with some passionate coffee. You know, so the modes of, modes of nature, they're all mixed up. You know, so and Prabhupada was saying that each of the modes, they're competing for supremacy. So the mode of ignorance is competing against the mode of passion, the mode of goodness become prominent. You know, we see these people, you know, they're like dogs, they're sleeping or living outside or in shelters or something. We don't know exactly what the story is. But the people that come by regularly, that have been coming by for years, look like they're getting a little bit better than the incoherent state that they were in before, right? But I guess they're sworn to uncleanliness, sinful activities, addicted to intoxication, just sleeping, living outside like a dog. You know, and the mode of passion is characterized by, you know, really hard work, you know, family life, economic development, you know, family attachment, happiness, you know, work really hard. So, and then the mode of goodness is characterized more of a study of the Vedas, acceptance of the spiritual master, following the 4 rules and regulations, truthfulness, cleanliness, austerity, you know, the mode of goodness that are practiced by the brahmanas, you know, devotees. So yeah, that way there's characteristics, you know, you can probably pretty much see by the characteristics the way that one's acting. Person's in the mode of ignorance, they become bears and dogs and cats in their next life, you know, or even lower, you know, insect life, really covered over, you know, and you see the person's, you know, they're worshiping the demigods, you know, so they can take birth as a family of demigods, you know, or rich mercantile families. You know, they're trying to improve their condition. So there are people that are becoming degraded, people that are improving their condition, you know, like that. And then the bhaktas, you can tell they're going to go back to Krishna. Like that. Yeah, did that answer your question about the 3 modes of material nature? Or? Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's a good question for Maharaj. Yeah, because I don't know, specifically their specific origins. You know, everything's kept dormant within the Supreme Person of Godhead during the unmanifestation, you know, the time factor and the 3 modes of material nature. But, you know, I know that they're combined together, you know, because if you're saying pure, then pure goodness, you know, or pure passion, you know, or pure ignorance, like that, you know. Pure goodness, purified goodness is Vasudeva Sattva, you know, or a transcendental mode of goodness, which is transcendental to the material mode of goodness, in which one understands their position as spiritual source, servant of the servant of the servant, the servant of Krishna. You know, is always thinking of Krishna and Krishna's pastimes, you know, observing Krishna consciousness, you know. Yeah, Jaya. And you had a question too, or what's that? Oh, and class now? Okay, Jaya. Srimad Bhagavatam class, Ki Jai.